I still expect to put up a fight. Liverpool beat them. Atletico really over the two legs were the better side. And I know throughout the season, teams have pulled off. Barca smoked them not long ago. They have the heritage. They have the moments that never say die, never do die. We've seen it against multiple clubs over the years. But yeah, we've got to try. We've got to fight. We've got to make it a game. That's the biggest interest for me. Not Real, not Mbappe, and all them, man. Not the Bernabeu. I'm so happy to see Arsenal back at this stage.
Yeah.
And by this stage, I mean like Real Madrid. Let's see where we're at, because we've seen where we're at in the Premier League, yeah. And a lot of the noise and excuses is we suit the Champions League more. Okay, I don't know where that comes from. All of a sudden, our European form over the years hasn't been the greatest. But let's test ourselves now against Europe's elite, and let's find out, because if it's an unprecedented summer coming up, if this is the summer now that Arsenal start competing with the likes of Bayern Munich and all that, like Gazidi said all those years ago, then let's see where we're at against the best club side in history and the world.
I agree. I agree with you, and I think this is the reason why it annoyed me a little bit. I think it was last season when we I saw some content being made, some on this channel, other Arsenal fan channels, where people were looking for like they were plotting and hoping for like the lesser teams and the smaller teams, and I was just like that's just some little boy mentality. And also we've been out of the Champions League for so long. This is where Arsenal have been building to get to. Like, people are asking, who would you prefer, Madrid or Atletico? And I get tactically the differences between the two teams, but otherwise it's obviously Real Madrid. If you want to be in the big table with the big boys, you want to be competing with the big. I don't want to tiptoe ourselves to a final. I want to beat the best teams. So this is, as you said, we played Ludogorets and Sparta Prague and all these teams in the Europa League. We've worked really hard to get back to the top table. Now, look, I'll save my thoughts for the game, nearer the game, because there's no point giving thoughts now and then. They've got injuries and we've got injuries. This 3-4 weeks can be a long time. But in terms of where we are and who we're playing, I'm so happy, man. This is Arsenal, Real Madrid. Mm-hmm. Man United are beating up Real Sociedad. Spurs are slipping through past A, B, C, D. So we're playing Real Madrid. Yeah, this is where we want to be.
And my thing is, like, listen, I'm not the most optimistic about it, but like Real have shown, like, there's no excuse not to make this a difficult game for them, not to make this a fight. There's no excuse. Like, I don't want us to go out and everyone's like, oh, just forget the performance. It's Real Madrid. Because the way our defense is set up, and we're looking at what Atletico did to them over two legs. Sure, Atletico are the best at it. Simeone's the best at it, but surely we can produce a similar level to make it a fight, keep it going into the second leg. I think we need to win the first leg. That's why I'm so intent on trying to find an attacking option for us in these games we're playing now. But there's no excuse, not because I know there's a lot of people out there ready with excuses, giving it the most now. It's, believe and all that stuff. Oh, he's so negative. But we get knocked out. It's Real Madrid. Like, what do you expect? He's so negative. Now, make this. I don't expect to progress. I can't lie to you. If I had to put money on it, I'm not going to put money on it, because I'm not going to bet against Arsenal. But make it a fight. You have me believe after that first leg. That's the job they have to do. Agreed. And Atletico lost the first leg and still managed to, it was a fine margin, but still managed to do something. But
how I look at it, I think we've been out of the Champions League for a long while. And when we was in the Champions League, you go back to last season, we didn't really play a Champions League, what I call a Champions League side. Until we played Bayern Munich, but we played them 5 or 6 times before that. Mm-hmm. We've played Inter a few times this time around, played PSG, but we was at home in that game. I think that this is the first really mouth-watering Champions League side that we've had, since we got back into it. I know there's some big teams in there, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, but, Real Madrid is, you can't get no proper Champions League than that.
What was the last one, Lee?
What was
the last juicy Champions League you felt like, where were the big boys? A fixture.
Good question.
Before Bayern.
Barcelona, the 2 legs at Barcelona when I thought we got conned out of it when Van Persie got sent off.
That's right. Yeah.
And maybe that one when you thought that was a proper Champions League battle. I will say that one of the best Champions League battle, another one I felt we got conned out of, was the Liverpool one. Do you remember when
Walcott
Kleb got brought down? It was a stonewall penalty in the first game. I think we drew it.
I can't remember that.
And then we went up to Anfield, and Walcott went round about 5 of them on a run.
Oh yeah.
And played it on to Adebayor and tapped in, and we was through. And then 2 minutes later, Steven Gerrard gets a free kick and smashes it in. That was a juicy couple of games.
Proper test for Arteta. This is where he shows he's a top manager and earns his money. Wenger did the Galacticos. Sorry. Can Arteta show us what he's made of? I mean, but we're looking at him. We're looking at him for this one because we don't have that one particular player that we're looking at. You know, even in Wenger's day, a much greater manager. In Arsenal, we still had players we can look at like Henry and quite a few back then. Whereas now we're more looking at our defensive players and hoping we can shithouse our way through to just do something that Atletico couldn't over those 2 legs. Which if Atletico can't do it that way, it's going to be very difficult for us to do it that way. Do you think we're keeping a clean sheet?
What, home?
Yeah, home, the first leg. Because I can't see it. I cannot see it. That's why I think we need to, as much as we can, our defense keeps it down in terms of goals conceded and maybe 1, 2 across 2 legs. We need to figure something out in attack to get something because we are going to concede in both, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we might do. Whatever happens, we've got to go. We can't do what we done last season. We've got to learn from that. Like, you know, I thought we was far the better side against Bayern Munich, and then we give them 2 goals. We have to go to Madrid leading. If we don't, if it's a draw like 1-1, 2-2, or God forbid they're in front, write it off. We've got to go there and with some sort of lead.
At least.
I personally don't think the best I think we can hope for is 2-1, but you know, I don't know where the goals are going to come from. You know, I mean, unless Martinelli plays up front like he did when he was playing there a few times, I don't know. It was a bit of a worry for me when Martinelli come on Wednesday and he put him wide right. I thought like with that game, if you were thinking maybe of putting him in up front, I think maybe you'd have done it in that game when it was nothing on it. I don't know like that. But listen, if we defend properly, there's no reason why we couldn't keep a clean sheet.
I don't see why we can't be competitive.
I think this is a win-win for Arteta because if he loses this game, everybody expects it. But he can really, you know, add something to his credibility here by if he does a masterclass and produces a tactical genius performance. People will go, "Wow, he's done that against Real Madrid. Can he do this against so and so?" So, and he needs one of them. He needs something like this. I think, you know, you look back at the Newcastle game over 2 legs. We never laid a glove on them. Over 2 legs. Big game. No one produced anywhere near as well as they could perform. And people going, "Oh, he was outdone," you know, which he probably was. So if you look on that game, Arsenal were favourites in that. But Eddie Howe found a way and done the business, didn't he? And that's what I want from Arteta. I don't think that's asking too much from a manager that's on £15 million a year now. Do something.